Hey everybody, welcome to Exit Stage Left. I'm your host, Neethi Bali, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here in North Carolina. Hey, we're a people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We're just shining a light on knowledge that's being hidden from you about your birthright. So if you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I am joined with Tammy Healy, the host of the American State Assemblies podcast and the co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. Welcome back, Tammy. How are you today?
Hey, Neethi. I'm great. I've had a couple great days over here with some weather. I was able to get outside. So whenever I have an opportunity to do that, it always makes me feel very energetic the next day. So I'm doing good. How about you?
I feel the same way. The last couple of days I have walked and spent as much time outside as possible. We've gotten a few chores done. We've gotten some sifting and sorting done. We're in rentals right now, so it kind of is annoying because we want to do a lot of building and stuff. And so a lot of our organization and cleanup and all of that is inside, which kind of is not as fun as being outside and just really building things. So we're looking forward to being able to do more of that. And so in the meantime, I do a lot of walking and daydreaming, and that's been fun. So.
Good. It's kind of like a walking meditation, right?
100%, yeah. And I don't always have the opportunity to spend as much time doing that the way that I like. So it was really nice to be able to do that for the past couple of days. So awesome. Hey guys, me and Tammy, we got lots of things going on that we're interested in sharing with you. But what we want to talk about today actually revolves around this video that we want to share. Should we start with that, Tammy? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a great start for the show. That way it sets the intentions. People could see where we're going with it. And just a, a preview of, this guy that we're hearing from is Dr. Len Horowitz. You're going to play that one, right? And
yeah.
He's one of the people that Hunter Key mentioned in the interview that I did with him, a few days ago. And so this is a video from him.
And I've put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to go back and check it out later. Okay. All right, sure. Here we go.
5 to 8 hertz frequency has been determined to be nearly the
Can everybody hear it?
Center of the entire electromagnetic color spectrum. There's only one number.
I don't feel like the volume's coming through. Is that true?
The volume's coming through on my end, but your internet is rubber banding a little bit, so I think that might be why. But I could hear the video.
Let me make an adjustment over here. They're doing a lot of construction out here, and maybe that's interfering. I'm not really sure. I couldn't hear it at all, so.
Yeah, I could hear it on my end, and I'm just going to mute my mic so that it doesn't interfere.
Only one number in the entire numbering system, whereby the electromagnetic 5 to 8 hertz frequency has been determined to be nearly the precise center of the entire electromagnetic color spectrum. There's only one number in the entire numbering system, whereby the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound system. That one number is 528. 5 to 8 hertz frequency has been determined to be nearly the precise center of the entire electromagnetic color spectrum. There's only one number in the entire numbering system, whereby the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound system. That one number is 528. Both the same in color and sound. 528 hertz frequency.
A miraculous key that opened doors that no man can close and close doors that no man can open. 528. It will change your life in the most beneficial way. And now we have substantive evidence, massive amounts of evidence that is what 528 is. Ultimately, what has happened with this planet is that we are in dissonance to another note, another frequency. It turned out that when we discovered the original musical scale, there was not just 6, but a total of 9 core creative frequencies to the universe. That is, everything in the universe is made from 9 notes, only 9. And that the first 6 are the solfeggio, and then there's 3 additional ones that form a perfect circle of sound. And that perfect circle of sound looks something like this. If you graph it. So the first 6 notes, 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852, was the original solfeggio scale. The 528 that you can see on my left in green is the color green. It's the heart of the rainbow. That's the miracle note from the original solfeggio note, from the original solfeggio scale. And the other note that you see, 741, which is part of nature, is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die. And so that the concept here is interesting. In the world today, we have people who are controlling virtually everything economically, geopolitically. Their agenda has been population manipulation, population control for millennia. They have held the secret knowledge, the ancient music, by which the pyramids were constructed based on the math. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely.
The A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart mind for the divine human community. Here is a metaphor so that you begin to understand what we're talking about. When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're grooving to the music, you love that music. As you get farther and farther away from the broadcasting tower, that music gets static. You start to lose the signal from the clear channel, broadcast, and it gets staticky. When it gets staticky, you get a little annoyed. But you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music, so you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted. You go, and you shut it off. And if you continue to listen to it, it gets sick. That's what we're talking about. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static your whole life. You don't even know what the true resonant frequency is because it has been kept. So in other words, the master composer, master conductor of the Universal Orchestra is singing love songs in 5/8, uplifting everything simultaneously. And we're the only species out of tune and accepting static for the clear channel. Dr. Masaru Emoto. He goes up on stage and he has a triangular, a musical triangle that he hits, like in an orchestra. He's hitting it over here. He hits it, bing, and about 30 yards or 30 feet away is his interpreter standing here with the same exact, a replica of that same size triangle. Frequency tuned to the same frequency. And he tells his interpreter to put a microphone next to it. And suddenly this one starts to resonate. He hits that one over there. This one starts resonating. How much of your body is full of water? They used to say when I was at Harvard School of Public Health, the truth was back then about 86%, 86% of your body, well hydrated, was water. Today they tell us it's only 75%. Hogwash, they've been dehydrating everybody with the poisons. 93% of the function of DNA is light and sound reception and transmission. Photon, reception, transmission for intercellular communication and cellular upregulation. You know what cellular upregulation means? It means precipitation. In the now, every millisecond, instant second, you're remanifesting right now in water. Water is the most energy conductive of all of the materials. It's a superconductor. Let me give you the fundamental, the rudimentary origin of the numbers. Here it is. The most important numbers, 3, 6s, and 9s. Again, Tesla, who created Tesla coil. Tesla coils, energy amplifiers. Your DNA is an energy amplifier, a coil, operating by the 3, 6s, and 9s primarily. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you've probably looked at engines or motors, magnets that have been wound with copper wire. When you do that, when you wind the copper, coil the copper around the magnet, it enhances the energy dramatically. That's what your DNA is. It's an antenna to the Creator. Every single cell of your body has this energy capability. It has this divine intelligence. What does that mean? That means the first entities that you should be communing with in order to uplift yourself, sustain yourself, heal yourself, is the billions of cells in your body that have its own unique genetic intelligence, its own sacred spiral to the Creator. And so this is the structure of the way that the universe operates, which does fabulous for us, our understanding of some of the most wonderful pieces of information to allow us to live a faithful life. A life according to the law, according to the matrix. Here is the simple way to analyze this. You've heard of what goes around comes around. You've heard of as you sow, so shall you reap. So this is explains it. Let's say that you're here and you are putting out negative thoughts, negative behaviors, negative actions. It's all energy. The neurology in your brain's powerful. 86% of you is God water. So now that's going out, and it goes out, and here's what happens. It goes out, goes up and down. This is called the event horizon. You shoot down through the middle of the event horizon, which is the black hole, comes out and spins back around, ultimately comes right back, bringing to you karma, bringing to you, it's all according to the mathematical matrix. It's certain, it doesn't lie, it's always consistent, there's nothing missing, nothing broken in it.
I love that. And I think it's a perfect place for us to stop. Neethi, are you there with me?
I kind of pushed myself off so that it would allow the video to go. So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and I want to touch on a few of the things that were, expressed in this video, because I know that there was a lot of comments. I would say the majority of the comments from the interview with Hunter were positive. Some were a bit. Oh, I think that video is playing again.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. But there were some, I think, misunderstandings. And so, I'd like to discuss them specifically with, backing it up with this video from Dr. Horowitz. So one of the topics I think that people are having a hard time wrapping their head around is Hunter's position on the word God and creator. And I think we all have to respect everybody's position when it comes to what our beliefs are, because everybody is interpreting it, perceiving it, understanding it in a different way based on their journey in life, right? Like we just heard from Dr. Horowitz, he called it God, he called it divine. I tend to agree with Dr. Horowitz that, I believe that we do have a creator. And just because Hunter used the word nature, which isn't different than what our founders wrote on the Declaration of Independence, if you think about it.
I mean, I feel like when in our culture, nature and God were the same. Our creator is, from the natural,
right?
Nature, like nature's law, the universal law, nature's law, God's law is one and the same. And so, I think it's difficult for me to be upset with him about anything that he said. And so it depends on how you were introduced to God. In my view, like I feel like there are a lot of folks who believe, I mean, I've faced so many people growing up who, they need to know which God. When you say that you are God-fearing, or you have some faith or anything, if you're religious at all, since knowing more now and working with Anna, I know all religions are corporations, so it would,
and they're man-made.
They are man-made, and it would explain a lot about why I always had a problem with a lot of the religions, because there were so many unanswered questions. And I think if we're all really honest with ourselves, then if you participated in any type of religion, any religion, and I've participated in many of them and studied them and been immersed in them, and there's always so many questions they can't answer, or there's always the whole you're not going to find out until you die kind of scenario. And for me, that was just never enough. It wasn't good enough. And I kept thirsting for the truth behind all of that. And some people do that and some people don't, because like a lot of people might have listened to, I don't know, when my mom was like, why are you asking so many questions? You don't need to know everything, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you just do, don't disrespect the leaders of the temple or the leaders of a church or whatever. You have to respect these elders who are running whatever it is. But if they can't answer why the sky is blue and the grass is green, it kind of seems ridiculous to me, And
right. Well, and there's a level of distrust, right? Because if you can't answer the question, clearly you don't have all the answers, right? And so, and I'd like to also touch too is that people think that when you say that you don't believe in religion and that religion was man-made, that you're saying that you don't believe in a creator and you don't believe in, textbooks, like for me, I've got a Bible, right? And so the scripture I read and I understand it or comprehend it and, believe in those words. I think the more important point that we're trying to make here is that religion was put in place to use all of those texts to manipulate the words into a belief system to ultimately control you.
Right.
And so
I think that's the hard part. I think the hard piece is that a lot of folks can't believe that the religious texts are actually meant to control you when they feel that they came from a God source. Okay. But let's be honest about that. A man wrote those books. Some guy did it. Okay. And so we have those. And listen, when you think about the way that men shared the stories of their experiences with the creator, then it was always metaphorical because there are no words to really express that actual power, the life
encounter,
force.
yeah, that encounter and that experience, you can't put it into words. And I think that that's really why Jesus Christ spoke in parables. He was trying to explain something that was really unexplainable.
It's
So
bigger, yeah, much bigger than all of us.
yes,
The
and that's
energy is so profound.
right. And so, and I think, and that's really all I feel like I'd like to say about that topic. And I have absolutely no judgment of anybody, like everybody here is on their own journey. They're on their own time of discovery. And when they're ready to learn it and accept it, that's when they'll be able to hear it. The one thing that I will say is that it's really not in your best interest when you hear somebody else speak about the way that their beliefs are, right? Like what they believe to be true.
May I say something about that?
Well, I just want to finish this is that I don't think that it's in our best interest to start attacking people or throwing the baby out with the bathwater because that one thing that they said, may not be in alignment with your beliefs. And so, I just would like people to keep that in mind as we're moving forward here.
Well, 100%. We're not judging anybody or saying this is right and that is wrong or whatever. But everyone on earth is who we're working with, first of all. And everyone on earth has a different journey, path, connection to their creator. And it is not all going to be through the Bible. It is going to be coming from all the various texts on earth.
Right.
And all the various faiths. And yes, I mean, the lens through which we were brought forward to know of our creator, right? That lens, there's an affection there. There's a relationship there. There's something there that is connecting and bonding you with your mom and your dad, your grandparents, whomever. And there is nostalgia and a lot of things involved that are, holding all of that together. And so as you expand and hear this new information, there's no reason for you to have to completely cut all of that off. There's no reason why you can't say, oh, I see how they taught it to me this way because there were no words for whatever. But that is kind of saying the same thing. And if you really think about the way that the stories went, like what I was brought up to know versus what maybe someone else was brought up to know. You and I have had many conversations, Tammy, where you're bringing it and you're coming at it from this point of view and I'm coming at it from this other point of view. And when we talk about it a little bit more, it's the same thing. We're just like, oh yeah, but you called it that and I called it this.
Yeah. And I think too, like this is, part of the issues with the religions is that you have pastors that were trained, they went to theology school, right? So we know all about the schools, right? That the curriculum was, again, manipulated in such a way to control and to put a narrative out that the control masters want us, to believe. And so, when we discuss something along the lines of oneness, right, that there is a one consciousness and we are all connected, you could go back for Christians and look up Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3-4, and it's saying the same exact thing, but maybe your pastor isn't explaining it to you that way, and people think that it's woo-woo or it's new age or whatever the case is. But look at it through a different lens.
Right.
That's all I'd like to say. About that.
I think the more that all of us have had conversations around this, we're always able to find peace within our own texts that we have an affection for.
Yeah.
And so you can't get this wrong, and nobody's wrong.
Right.
Nobody's wrong.
It's not about right and wrong here. Yeah.
No, I mean, when you're learning how to walk, then how you went about that. I mean, Jamie and I were just talking last week about how their baby isn't crawling or doing whatever that some of the other babies did. And she was just saying, it's just really different with this one. And I'm like, we could say the same thing for you. Take 12 babies and you start comparing them. They all do something a little bit different to get up on their feet,
Right.
but eventually they're going to get up on their feet and they're going to start walking. Right. And so how they get to that moment, or how any of us get from, crawling to walking or standing, there's nothing wrong as long as you start walking, it's fine.
Exactly.
So with that, if you're listening to that interview and you just get stuck on that, or it's really, I think that a lot of these snags that people get stuck on, and so then they just are like, okay, I'm not going to listen to the rest of it. And it's kind of a modern day thing in my observation, Tammy, where it's real. Everybody's so easy to dismiss anybody who says the wrong word because the current
or a word that they're not familiar with, right?
Well, the orthodoxy, as it has evolved with the corporatocracy taking on more and more control and narrowing the lens, and frankly, making your box smaller and smaller and smaller so that you are most uncomfortable in that cage. Your cage is becoming more and more clear. If you don't realize you're in a cage right now, then it's kind of shocking that you don't know, like not sure what we can do to kind of shake you out of that, to make you go, hey girl, you in a box, do you want to be in that box? Because you might not want to be in that box. I don't know.
Yeah, I like to say that we're in this jail cell, and I've got my jailmate over here that's digging a hole that's going to take, maybe years to dig, right? And I just happened to find the keys on the floor and open the jail cell and said, hey, let's get out. We're free now. And she's like, no, I'm going to still keep digging over here. It's like,
that's it. That's exactly it. And you know what? That is reminiscent of the chickens. Okay. When you have chickens are terrified. Okay. If you put chickens in a garage and you open the door wide open for them to go and be free, they will run up against the wall. They will never run out the door. They're like, bro, we don't know what's going on out there. We're not going out there. We're going in here. We want to stay where we know what's happening. We're not trying to go into the wild blue yonder.
Right.
There, and that's where people are like, well, come on out. You don't know how good it is out here. Well, if you've been in that box your whole life, and then somebody opens one of the walls and breaks a wall down, it's not exciting. That's it's terrifying. Like, oh my God, the wall is gone.
Yeah, like what the heck is out there? I don't know if I want to step out there. Like, it's safe in here. I don't think I want to go out there.
Right.
Well, meanwhile, like us, we're like, woohoo, we're free. Look, we got sunshine out here. Come on out with us. And they're like, no, I think I want to stay here, you know. But
yeah, as we were discussing how we wanted to take this conversation, there's so many ways to do this. And it's funny, Tammy was doing her thing, I'm doing my thing, and then we get together and we just kind of, but like, it's so interesting. We wanted to talk about how a lot of what is happening with global is being miscomprehended,
right.
and it's so interesting. Tammy came with this video and she had a whole different vibe going on after speaking with Hunter. And I was coming at it like, okay, what do we need to do to get people to push the button to go? Like, how do we get them to just push go? Right. Well, and so the obstacles, just so everyone knows, is if you were to, and there are many conversations going on earth about this. Like, if you're following any of the economists, like, especially the forward thinking, ones that are like more aligned with us and freedom, you would talk about maybe Catherine Austin Fitts. Catherine and I are friends. Catherine, what she's talking about is, like, how do you get someone to agree to do this reset, right? And then especially if you're familiar with NESARA, with what happened with the farm union, what actually is the truth about what's going on. Well, everything that they're talking about, when you ask that whole group, that orthodox group that doesn't know, the majority, right? The orthodoxy, because we're less than the 1% of the 1%. We're less than the 0.5%, right?
Right.
And so those guys are like, okay, well, I think all this prosperity sounds really good, but what about my IRAs and my stocks and my government checks? They're all stuck right there. And, yes, decentralization sounds awesome, but I need all this centralized crap because I work so hard for it. They can't imagine not having that, right?
Yeah. Well,
and that goes up against basically, if you are completely decentralized, then they're just like, okay, everything that they say, everything they're concerned about, everything we're doing, everything we're concerned, what does it all come back down to? It all ends up coming back to enforcement. So there's safety and then there's enforcement, right? And
correct.
so just like the chickens running for the wall, they're not going to run for the door. They need to know it's safe. They need to know there's some security. They need to know, they're like, we have worked a lot in here and we,
Right.
I don't know if we can expand to that right here, and when someone's trying to hand you the whole earth that you own versus your house that you are comfortable in, most people don't leave their house that much, or 5 miles around their house, or drive more than 15 minutes away from their house. Tammy, how are we going to get people comfortable in wanting to go more than 15 miles away?
Right. Yeah, well, it's like Hunter said, it's really a paradigm shift in your mindset, right? Like this whole earth and the prosperity system that he's created really can shift us to the next level pretty quickly if everybody could get their mindset there. And I think, he touched a little bit on the fact that people were accusing him of trying to corner the market. But this is something that people have to think about. If we are all living in abundance and his prosperity center, he's not making anything. It's not usury, right? He's not charging a fee to use his system that he created, right? How is he then cornering the market? You know what I mean? Like, he's not making anything off of this. We're all going to be prosperous. And so I think that people have to wrap their heads around that. They have to, and he may not have all the answers. Like when I asked him, hey, like if I was to buy something from you and then I gave you, there was the exchange that took place electronically, digitally. And then I said, hey, this didn't really fit me. I want to return it back to you. What is that going to look like? And he said, you're putting the cart before the horse. They're not there yet. It's not that it won't ever exist, but he's just not there yet. And so, when everybody keeps complaining about, something that he's not doing or an answer he's not giving, it's he has created something that hasn't ever existed before. Have you created it?
Well, I would tell you as a business.
Do you want to take a stab at creating a system like this? Go for it.
I know. Well, how about before even that? Like what you asked him, like what is the solution for the shirt not fitting or whatever? The problem with him answering that question is many. I mean, how do I know as a business owner? Well, I'll tell you what, if I sold you that shirt, then I get to decide how I'm going to make it right. He doesn't get to decide that. So how am I going to make it right for you? That's between me and you. So he can't speak on it in the first place. That's right. Number one. Number two, maybe I'm going to just send you something else. Maybe I'm going to just give you your money back and just say, how many times, like, I'll just use Amazon as an example, even though we hate Amazon, but like, if you wanted to return it to Amazon and they're just like, girl, it cost us too much money for you to send it back to us, just keep it. And we just give you your refund back. But like every vendor gets to decide how are they going to make it right. It's not going to be him. Whether it is that he gives you a credit back, whether they say, hey, we're going to send you something. It's going to have an envelope in it. Put your other thing in it and send it back. Like, you don't know what their shipping expenses are, how they are managing it. How are they absorbing this exchange?
Well, yeah. And I think the point in that question, and I guess that my point got kind of, overlooked, is that the current system in which we're operating in, the SWIFT system, is that if I were to go back to the vendor and say, hey, I need to return this because it didn't fit and I just want my money back, right? And they're like, okay, I'll refund it for you. And they take the merchandise back. They get the product back immediately. But for me, because they're using the SWIFT system's policies are that you're not going to get your refund until 7 to 10 business days, because what nobody realizes and knows is that we're going to take that, I don't know, $50 that you just, were refunded, and I'm going to trade it on the stock market, and I'm going to make a couple extra bucks for myself, and then I'll give you back your money, right? Because that's what we're currently working with right now. And so I didn't really necessarily needed for him to give me an exact answer on that. It was more of the fact of what we're dealing with, because I agree with you, Neethi. Like if I called you up and said, hey, Neethi, that shirt that you sent me, it has a snag in it. And after I tried it on, I really don't like it, and I'm sure as a vendor, you probably already will have your refund policy put in place, right? And so if I'm qualified to return it, then you're going to say, hey, can I offer you a different product that in exchange for this? Or, hey, can I give you a store credit and maybe you could purchase something different? Or, okay, if you don't want anything and I can't remedy this for you, then here, I'm going to send you back the money. And what I was looking for is that, well, if the vendor decided that they were going to give you a refund, it's going to go exactly back into your account and you're going to receive it immediately, right? Like, and I'm thinking that that's the process, because it seems pretty seamless, but
well,
again,
you can go one way, you can go the other way, and
right?
So there is no reason to discuss it, right? That if you can send it to me, I can send it to you. But if he says, look, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he don't. If he said, if his answer was, well, you can just send it back and they should just give you the money back, now everybody's going to say, well, why didn't you just do that? Well, you don't know what that guy's return policy is or whatever. Okay. There's so many things. Every time that everyone says something, then there's always the person on the other side ready to twist it and turn it and whatever. And really, that's not the point.
And I do want to touch on that, because that is a perfect segue into the fact that if you want to give, healthy, constructive criticism, because after all, I'm sure Hunter is willing to hear your feedback, because after all, he is creating this from scratch. And he wants it to operate in a loving 528 hertz frequency. And so if you're seeing a complication or a possible thing for him to look into, the words you use are so important. And this goes back to how we're speaking to each other in our assemblies, right? And so instead of coming across as accusatory, oh, you're out to screw me, this is a scam, and oh, some Ponzi scheme. No, how about, hey, I'm seeing a bit of maybe a possible challenge here. And I don't know if you viewed this when you're creating this, maybe you could explain this a little better so that I could better understand, or maybe you haven't considered this yet. Maybe you could take a look at this and see what I'm talking about, right? Like, it's very different in the way that you're presenting something than coming across as accusatory and complaining. And I vibed with him very well, his energy was really amazing. And I love the fact that he kept saying harmonizing, and he corrected me a few times, because my mistakes was, I'm used to calling things a bank, and he kept correcting me and saying, it's not a bank, it's a prosperity system. And Anna, even on the our Monday night webinar, kept saying, it's not a bank, it's a prosperity system. So I have to keep ingraining that in my head, because I have been, conditioned to call these things that we've been using to for currency, our banks. So, we all have adjusting to do, and there's going to be language that we need to start using that we're not familiar with. And, it's just us evolving and changing with the times.
Well, the only banks that there are on the water banks. And all those water banks are directing currency through the land and the soil. And that has not anything to do with our
mechanisms for trade
and our honorable exchange. And so whatever our honorable exchange for sweat equity is, it's not the water, and it's not the bank holding the water. And so we aren't doing this for the water, we're doing it for the blood. That's what it is. It's for the blood and the sweat equity. So water isn't going to solve that problem. And so everyone needs to go ahead and just start realizing the trickery, the spells and incantations that put us in the wrong place in the first place. The same as this frequency of the music. The whole video that we played is to basically point out that if you're constantly on static, then you can't have this elevated conversation. You can't hear anything Hunter's saying, because you're stuck in static. You can't know what he's saying because you're stuck in static. And all in the same way, you can't hear what anyone who has the solutionary enforcement answers, because you're stuck on static. And we have to be honest. Again, we're going to keep going back to the fact that it's easier to lie to yourself. It's easier to stay in the lies and only operate on what is in the garage and not once the garage door opens. Because if you don't know what's on the outside of that garage door, you can't speak about it. So you probably should not speak about it.
And you're mentioning speaking in words, right? He mentioned, the word love, right? And somebody made a comment that love isn't just a word. Well, his point is that our words have a frequency. So when we're speaking, right? Like, it's like if I were to say, Neethi, I love you, or Neethi, I love you. Right? Like, there's difference in your tone and your intent. And is it coming from the heart? That's what harmonizing is, right?
It's the thought. Remember, it goes back to this. So it goes back to the thoughts,
the emotion and the action.
So the action is the word. The word is the thing. It's the thing that you do to do the action. And so thoughts, that's when thoughts become things. Thoughts aren't things, but they become things when you put words behind them, when you put your voice, I just wrote an article about the power of your voice. You
Right.
know, that's why your whisper can stop a storm.
Yeah.
That's why your breath, your whisper, your intention, that is
Yeah.
your thought, your intention, your vision, your whatever. Then you put your feeling behind it and it becomes more powerful. And then you put your action, your word behind it. Now it becomes power,
Yes.
right?
And
So
I used to explain this to my kids when they were little. And, we were teaching them how to apologize for something that they did wrong, right? And I can remember, my daughter was very stubborn. and, and she did not want to apologize to her brother if he hit her and she hit him back and, whatever, right? And there was this strife between them. And I remember, saying to her, you have to apologize and make amends here, and we have to get past this. And I remember she'd go up and she'd be like, I'm sorry for hitting you. Right. And we'd be like, nope, you got to try again. I'm sorry for hitting it. Nope, sorry. You got to try again. Like, it's got to come from your heart. You have to mean it. Go back in your room and think about why you're saying you're sorry. And it's like, okay, she'd come back and she'd be like, well, I really wanted the toy that you were playing with and you weren't sharing it with me. And so, I just hit you because I just really wanted that toy and I'm really sorry that I hurt you. Right. That's an apology, right? That's heartfelt and it has meaning behind it.
But she had
Yes.
to be honest. She had to say, this is what I want, and this is why I want it. This is what I want, and it's why I want. And that's why I keep saying you have to know what you want and why. If you don't know why you want it, then you can't actually do the thing to have it. Anyway, look,
Yeah.
everybody wants to know when is the bank, which is not a bank, opening. It's not about that. It's about an energy exchange. The funniest part to me, Tammy, is the scam. Everybody wants to call Anna and Hunter scam artists. I think this is incredible. You know what's the scam? The scam is actually you lying to yourself because
Right.
you hear them say something that they are excited about, that they want to give as a gift to the world. And you received that as permission for you to demand something. And that's your twisted, backwards way of hearing the static and interpreting it incorrectly. I
Right.
think it's so funny that people think they're getting scammed. And when you ask them, what is this scam? They're like, well, we were told that this was going to happen and it was for us and it was so great and blah, 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 blah. And it's not happening. And I'm like, first of all, why? I really genuinely want to know. Why does anybody think that you came into this life and somebody else is supposed to do something that they owe you automatically for no reason whatsoever? And how do you think that's okay and why? Because what are you doing?
Yeah.
And look, I do a lot of things for other people. I don't expect anything in return. And
That comes from a place of love, right? And I think that we have been taught to mind your own business. Don't worry about their business. You just worry about you. And that's the total opposite of what we were supposed to be doing. We're supposed to care about our neighbors. We're supposed to care about somebody in need and hurting. And we're supposed to be there for them.
but you also don't need to be needing to be there for them to your demise.
Detriment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And so the idea that there's grown men out there who are like, well, we were told blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, there's someone who's trying to do something amazing. And also we have to come together. This is supposed to be one of those all for one for all things. This
Yeah.
is a Three Musketeers kind of a thing. And so if you're not interested in doing your part, which might just be to sit down and shut up. I don't really know. Maybe you sit and be quiet, or you can get up and do something. But
Yeah.
however it is that you do, no one's asking you for anything.
Yeah,
And
well, it goes back
knowing
to
a scam, well, I just want to finish saying this one thing, Tammy. If you're being scammed, that means that someone took something from you in exchange for something you promised them. And there's nobody who's done that.
no,
And
no,
if
and it goes back to, I remember my mom saying, if you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all, right? And so, and it's not that we're trying to tell people, oh, you can only say, positive things. It's if you're looking for your questions to be answered, go back and reframe your question in a way that is not offensive, right? Like accusatory. What's the tone of your question? And unless you have proof that somebody is scamming you, then keep your opinion to yourself.
well, you're going to do whatever you want to do. So I don't try to tell people what to do, like whatever. But also, at the same time, no one has to receive what you're doing either.
Right.
And so,
Exactly.
nobody's going to receive that. All right. And so, what are you hit with? A wall of silence, a wall of nothing, because everybody's all like, why isn't Hunter saying this, that, the other? Well, Hunter's on a really high flying disc. And so, if you don't get up on that disc and fly high and bring some positive vibrations with you, he doesn't even know you're there. He can't even see you, and he shouldn't. And he never, not just him, anybody. No one needs to lower their frequency to meet you in fear and, whatever, bemoaning and, hate, even,
No, and I don't even get that from him. He seems to have a very compassionate um disposition. And
yes.
so, and that is something beautiful because you're creating something, offering it to 8 billion people on the planet, and receiving the amount of ridicule, and still showing up and doing it anyway. No different than Anna. Anna does the same thing for us. you
100%.
know yeah.
Because we need the enforcement and the knowledge on how to do that. We need all of it.
Yeah,
And all of us should just get in and help push the needle, because really that's what this is all about. It's all about pushing that boulder up over to the other side and getting it over the, get it out the gate. That's what we have to do, right?
exactly. And hitting your point there, Neethi, is that if people are looking for safety and security, the best way to get that and receive that is to get your assemblies seated and fully functioning.
Mhm.
Get your positions filled, and that's where we're going to get the safety and security.
Well,
You know,
actually, it's going to be even beyond that, because you don't need just recognition from the Federation. If you don't get recognition from the de facto, and they don't start realizing that there's more than one status on America, then there's nothing worth talking about. It doesn't matter what the Federation recognizes. It matters what the de facto recognizes. It matters what the whole rest of the people, the 9 billion people, however many, 8 billion, whatever it is, if everyone on Earth doesn't recognize what you're doing, then it doesn't even matter anyway. So who
yeah, and
cares?
I'm not sure if it's going to take the de facto to recognize you. I think
Well, it is if
the,
we're
the
enforcing
well,
something. How are you enforcing
but
something
I think that the
without
more focus, though, is on the people, because this government is for, of, and by the people. And so when the people get on board, I think that's, and the people are doing the work, and the people are actually involved and making decisions and being accountable and responsible. I think that it's going to be a no-brainer for the de facto to recognize you.
Well,
You
then they'll
can't.
be a part of it. And how do you make them a part of it? You
Right,
can't
right.
make them a part of it by fighting with them or ignoring them or not talking to them. Sorry.
Exactly.
The
Yes,
only way for this to work is for all living men to come together and talk. And if you don't come together and talk, there's nothing going on.
right.
So what I mean is that you have an entire assembly situation going on where people think that the only thing that they have to get going is recognition from the Federation. No, that's dumb. If you aren't getting the people on your counties, the people with the boots on the ground, the people who are on your land and soil on board with you, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. And it requires courage to be able to have those conversations with
And love.
yes, in love. And we're not here to like you said, fight or be combative. Educating somebody, law enforcement officer on the side of the road is not the best opportunity to try to educate them, but meeting them and having conversations with them outside of those kinds of encounters, I think is going to be a little bit more productive.
Right. And making sure that you're operating in peace, in love, and
Right.
and letting them know that you're about safety, you're about peace, you're not a combatant.
Right, right. And it goes back to the frequency, right?
Right.
Like getting your intentions right. And I think, going back to what we've spoken about previously on other podcasts, and backing up what our fiduciary has said is that, we've got to come from a place of love and an intent, and showing up in that way and getting our frequencies high, which requires the work inside, which requires us to change our language and how we communicate with each other. It all kind of ties in together to get us all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elevate.
That's all we wanted to really say today, I think.
I think we covered it.
I think that was the big deal because I mean, I think a lot of folks want a quantum leap, and physically we can't have a quantum leap and be able to withstand that, but mentally we can. And so we have to work on our minds, and that means that you can't get triggered, which is a professional psychological term,
right,
for the brainwashing and the mind control. So if you're going to listen to anybody saying anything and get stuck on the word God or stuck on the word whatever, and that loses you, you're not in a position to tune in to the actual truth, because you can't let every single thing be a blockade, because it keeps you in the box. Those
right,
trigger words, you should view them as the fence, the gate that keeps you locked in to the box that they want all you chickens in. Okay.
right.
If you want to get out and be free, then you're going to have to get past all of that, because everybody's very comfortable. Oh, well, that was triggering. Oh, well, my emotions. Oh, well, my feelings. If you really want to look at it that way, like, I am not going to keep banging myself up against a fence. Well, if you don't get out of that gate, you can't even know what's happening on the other side. So if you are only going to allow the right words and the right whatever and the right every single thing to be something that you allow yourself to experience, you're not going out that door. You aren't allowing yourself to see what all there is to see. You're limiting yourself, and you're doing exactly what they want.
Exactly.
And that means that you're not going to allow yourself to get out the box and be free, because you will keep yourself caged, and you are doing all the work for them. And I don't think that's what you want. But what do I know? Nothing. I definitely don't know what you want. You're the only one who knows what you want and why you want it. So if you want to get out of that box, you're going to have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable and get out of those old, they're not even old, they're new bad ideas that came up after the 80s, because anybody from before the 80s knows that we all only operate in straight talk, and we're not afraid of words. and we're not afraid of the truth, and we're not afraid of somebody hurting our feelings, and we will maybe take a couple of minutes to recover from the hurt feelings, but we will get to the point of, oh, that's what they were saying.
Yeah, and I think we're also not afraid of course correcting, like if we realize, hey, oh, there's a different way to say that, there's a different way to do that, there's a different, like we need to be flexible enough to change, because that's what evolving and growing and elevating requires of us.
Mm-hmm. And if they had 99% of your brain turned off, and we did anything to help make you realize that, oh, wait a minute, I can turn something on,
Right.
then you still get, okay, so this is where Anna said, everybody's making choices right now. You're making choices. Are you going to choose to, go to the new earth, or are you going to choose to stay on the old earth?
Right. And everybody has a choice.
And you can't get it wrong.
Right. I did want to mention to people that Hunter and I will be having a follow-up interview probably in the next couple of weeks. And so, we hope to address some different topics, and, maybe have some of your questions answered. He did inform me that there were big things happening in the next couple of days. So he was going to be really busy with those things. So it's exciting times, folks. We've got, you can't expect to stay in and do the same old and have the way that we've been living remain the same. Things are going to change, and change is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, especially if we're going to press forward into a prosperous and new earth. It's going to be different times than what we're used to, and that's something to not be afraid of. It's to have courage and to live with an expectation that it's going to be a heck of a lot better than what we have currently.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Tammy, thank you so much for all the hard work that you are doing, and for the great interviews. And I really love your production style. It's really, really good.
Thank you.
And I mean, you really, you put so much energy and thought and love into it, and we can feel it. So thank you for doing that.
I'm glad that I got that feedback from you. That's what I was hoping to convey anyway.
No, it was fantastic. And I look really forward to hearing what else he's going to have to say, because, he really has a lot of insight and experience that we should want to glean from him.
Yes.
And just like Anna, And so the fact that he is taking time to make the energy to do that, considering all that he's already doing, is just a gift. And when you see him, I just want him to know how much we appreciate it. Just let him know that it was wonderful getting to know more about him. How did he come to this? Where did that come from? And investigating all of the people who influenced him that he shared with us. That was cool too. So
Yeah. And he certainly has had an interesting life journey thus far. And I really enjoyed learning about him as well through that interview. And I'm looking forward to the future interviews with him, and allowing to be the go-between from, the people to him, and trying to express what he's doing through love, compassion, and, and with good intentions. So.
Definitely. I love what Lisa's saying right here. So it's true. That's where it is. It's all on the leading, bleeding edge. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and coming back, week after week. And we really appreciate everyone watching the replays, leaving your comments. And Tammy, again, thank you so much for all that you do. And I'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love and appreciate all you do too, Neethi. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon. All right. Have a great week.